Former White House Chief of Staff John Kelly walked out the door and now is bad-mouthing Trump. I'm going to give you some life advice about that. Democrats, well, they've changed their tune on the border. That's weird. And Mike Bloomberg, he's got to stop doing something. I'll explain in a moment. All that's coming up right now on I'm Right. Allow me to give you some advice on the show. Now, I know you watch because you want to be entertained and you want to be informed, not interformed, whatever. I went to community college. Allow me to tell you something here, people. There is a look that is always bad on everybody. No, I'm not talking about fashion, nor would I be qualified to do so. That look is called petty. And this is what we do. This is what people are prone to do because it feels good in the moment. Let's say you have a bad breakup. What do you want to do? You want to call your girlfriends or your buddies about it? Maybe put up a big Facebook post. I gave and I gave and I gave and he was just never there for me. And it feels so good in the moment, right? You're blasting him. Might as well just give it to him. And not only that, you get all this positive feedback. You get your friends. Oh, you're right. He's a jerk. He didn't know what he had. Oh, yes. I'm so sorry for praying for you. I'm just, wishing you the best. And you get all this feedback, and you're like, yeah, everybody hates him now. And look at how much they love me. But let me explain something to you, ladies and gentlemen. The easiest thing in the world to lose and one of the hardest things to gain in the world is respect. Respect of your fellow man. So when you do petty things that feel good in the moment, yes, you're going to get a lot of pats on the back. Not a single person, nobody, friends, family, enemies, nobody gains respect for you. It's a bad look on everyone. And this goes way beyond the boyfriend you just dumped. This goes for employers and employees as well. I can't stand this. Whether I love the person, love the company, or hate them both. When somebody walks out the door, when there is a separation, and the person then takes to blasting the person they just quit working for, or even the person they just got fired working for, even if they have every right to do so. And look, you can speak your mind. It's a free country. Free speech is great. Yes, you can do it. You are allowed to do it. It looks bad. It does not gain you respect with a single person. If, God forbid, the first chose to fire me tomorrow, I would not run to social media and tell everybody, wow, that they had smelly breath. Would I gain anybody's respect by doing something like that? No. So when you get fired, if God forbid that day ever comes, when you get dumped, if God forbid that day ever comes, keep your chin up, walk out, put your chest out there, and go on and live your life and keep quiet about it. I promise you, you will gain the respect of other people and you won't lose any. Nobody has ever looked at somebody who walked away quietly and thought, man, I'd have a lot more respect for them if they'd given it to them with both barrels. It's never, ever happened. Which brings us to John Kelly. Former White House Chief of Staff John Kelly. Former General John Kelly. And before I get going on the exact circumstance of what happened, allow me to just reinforce this for you. A lot of you, especially you who've never served, you hear the words general and you sit up a little straighter. All right, that guy's a general. Even if you don't like the guy, he gets an automatic amount of respect for you. Stop with that. Stop with that. When you get to that level, I am telling you this as somebody who has served. When you get to that level, ladies and gentlemen, you are as swampy as the most swampy politician out there. Very rare is the general who is just a general. You get that many stars on your chest, ladies and gentlemen, you're a politician now. Don't trust them. Why do you think we've been in Afghanistan for 20 years? Do you think that's all on the president? Do you think that's all on the State Department? Or do you think maybe there were lots of generals involved testifying before Congress? We're almost going to turn a corner. You know what I need? I just need an increased budget for next year and 30,000 more troops and a little bit more responsibility, and I'll do it. And he fails, and the next general gets up. And he fails, and the next general gets up. Yes, we need generals. Every country in the history of the world needs generals. But you need to stop with this nonsense that the word general automatically means, well, I'm sure he's on the up and up. Trust me, they're not. Here's John Kelly on Alexander Vindman, you know, the guy who went around his chain of command and then leaked to the whistleblower trying to undermine the President of the United States because he, a lieutenant colonel, disagreed with what the president said. Quote, he did exactly what we teach them to do, from the cradle to the grave. He told his boss, blatantly false, General. Nobody in the United States military is taught to go around their chain of command and leak to anybody. And nobody in the United States military, believe me on this, is taught that they really need to try to just torpedo the wishes of the commander because they disagree. You're a lieutenant colonel. He's the commander-in-chief. You sit down and shut your mouth. John Kelly continued, this is about the media. The media, in my view, and I feel very strongly about this, is not the enemy of the people. We need a free media. That said, you have to be careful about what you are watching and reading because the media has taken sides. So if you only watch Fox News because it's reinforcing what you believe, you are not an informed citizen. This is the issue I have, ladies and gentlemen. And actually, this issue is not with General Kelly. This issue is with Donald Trump. What are we doing with the hiring practices in the White House? I am sorry. I've been a big fan of this presidency, much more than I ever thought I would. You guys know that. I love the judges. I love the tax cuts. I love the foreign policy improvements. I love the new trade deals. It's been awesome. I love the fact that he takes it to the media. Why are we hiring these people? John Kelly is quite clearly not somebody who's on Donald Trump's team, not on Donald Trump's side. He's yet another guy who took the job because I could probably steer him to go the direction I want. It's a terrible look. Don't hire Omarosa. Get some real vetting in the White House so that over the next 5 years, we stop having this crap. Donald Trump, as you may imagine, chose to respond and said, when I terminated John Kelly, which I couldn't do fast enough, he knew full well that he was way over his head. Being chief of staff just wasn't for him. He came in with a bang and went out with a whimper, but like so many exes, he misses the action and just can't keep his mouth shut. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? What do you have to argue with about that last part? What is the point now of speaking out? Why not just stay quiet? Why not? Because of pettiness, bad look. Well, in case you thought race relations were about to improve in the United States of America, I want you to see something. And before I show you this video, I want to be clear. Yes, I think the person in this video is an idiot. I do not blame this person. This person had influences on her life that have made her this way. I blame parents. I blame our government education system because, ladies and gentlemen, if you ever find yourself saying these words, you have been broken somewhere along the way.
Public service announcement. Excuse me. If y'all didn't know, this is the MSC, and frankly, there's just too many white people in here, and this is a space for people of color. So just be really cognizant of the space that you're taking up because it does make some of us POCs uncomfortable when we see too many white people in here. It's only been open for 4 days, and frankly, there's the whole university for a lot of y'all to be at. And there's very few spaces for us. So keep that in mind. Thank you. Woo!
That's the publicly funded University of Virginia, ladies and gentlemen. There's your government schools for you. Also, Multicultural Center. Allow me to just say this. Multicultural is a bunch of crap. We have a culture. We have the United States of America's culture. Our culture, of course, doesn't belong to any religion. It doesn't belong to any skin color or gender or anything like that, but we very much do have a unique culture that is unique to our country, and this multiculturalism garbage is destroying it, and it's destroying young minds like that. Ayanna Pressley, she's a United States Congresswoman. Here's her, with your taxpayer dollars today. Listen to this.
The year is now 2020, and here we women are, still in so many ways, not fully free, still shackled. We face pregnancy discrimination, discrimination in the criminal legal system, sexual and domestic violence, and inadequate health care access. But this isn't an accident. The American Constitution is sexist by its very design.
I'm not going to break down all the idiocy there, and I'm not even going to blast Ayanna Pressley. But both of these people, Ayanna Pressley and whoever that college student was, what are you thinking if you're their parents and you raised them that way? And I'm saying it this way. What do you want as a parent for your kids? Don't you want your kids to be happy and healthy and successful? Have you ever met in your life somebody who thinks this way? I'm in chains and there's no place for me and I'm a victim. Have you ever met somebody like that? We all have, that was content, that was happy. Even if you really believe that, even if you believe we're still in shackles, let's say you actually believe that, why would you raise your kids to think that way when you know you're setting themselves up for a life of misery? You're going to be withered and bitter and old and probably alone one day. And who wants that for their kids? Even if that's how you ended up, do better for your kids. All that may have made you uncomfortable. I'm sure it did, but I'm right. Coming up next, townhall.com senior columnist Kurt Schlichter. Hang on. Joining me now, my buddy and Town Hall columnist and veteran Kurt Schlichter. Kurt, I want to start with this John Kelly nonsense. First of all, before we get to generals and what all that means, because I have some thoughts on that, I'm sure you do as well. I try to teach, I'm already teaching my kids this. I try to teach people who ask me career advice this. Why do people walk away from their employer and choose to blast that employer and think that makes them look good? Even if the employer deserves it all the way, shut up and keep your chin up, right?
Look, I mean, I guess norms and rules and customs don't apply if it involves Trump. Because, I mean, you're a military guy like me. Say you left a unit, went to another unit, and started talking smack about that your old unit. Everyone at the new unit would go, what a dork. What a loser. I mean, yeah, maybe your unit sucked. Maybe it was a crappy outfit, but you don't talk bad about your own people, because now I know you're going to talk bad about me. But, you know, Jesse, watching these guys, and this is not the only senior officer I have seen act much more like a cheesy civilian, by which I mean like a high school girl, you know? No wonder we haven't won a war unequivocally in the last 30 years. And I know that's harsh, but that's a fact.
Kurt, what is the problem in the ranks, or is that just the nature of being a general? Your job is to fight wars, so your job is to get to Washington, D.C. and politic your tail off, and eventually, look, I don't like it. John Kelly's service record is, I mean, it's incredible. His family has sacrificed for this country,
yes,
but somehow they all end up in D.C., and they all end up just as swampy as the next scumbag senator everybody hates. Is there a way we can stop this, or is that just the nature of the beast?
Well, you got to remember that they're trained to do that. That's the purpose of war colleges, is to domesticate war fighters to go hang around civilians and not scare them. I know, I'm a graduate. It didn't take with me. And that's the thing, it gets me. These guys who have undoubted physical courage and undoubted patriotism. I'm not doubting either of those things from John Kelly. That would be stupid and ridiculous, and I'm not doing that. But they somehow lose the values that made them incredible warriors when they go into Washington. It's not time to get rid of your old values. It's time to double down. The answer that he should have given to somebody asking about what it was like to work with Donald Trump is, I don't talk about my bosses. He relied on me. He trusted me. I gave him my advice. He's the president. He wins. What's your next question? That's the response. Especially with this, you know, Colonel Bratwurst guy, this Vindman, this guy who you knew in the military, I knew in the military, just with a different name. You know, to somehow seek to justify this weasel's antics, it's just sad. It's sad. Stop it.
Talking about Vindman, do you have any issue with, here's my issue, Kurt. Why has it taken this long for Donald Trump to remove these guys like Vindman and his brother and so many others from the NSC? Why is Donald Trump still hiring people like John Kelly, who are clearly not on board with the Trump agenda. Honestly, I've been so thrilled with the Trump presidency, but the spending's awful, and his hiring has been abysmal, man.
It's true. And there are a couple reasons for that. The first reason, he didn't go and settle all family business, as my town hall column, both columns of this week have talked about in detail, is because he was under investigation and he had to make sure that weak-heart, sissy Republican senators stayed in the fold. Because, you know, you're not allowed to do anything that upsets the elite because reasons and other reasons. The other fact is he's a guy who came into office without a Rolodex. Now, say what you want about George Bush, but George Bush knew a ton of people over the years. He had a long contacts list. Trump did not in the political sense. So he ended up having to lean on these swamp dwellers. And the swamp dwellers did exactly what you might anticipate a swamp dweller to do, acted like a little weasel. So he's finally got 3 years in, finally has enough people who know the way around town. He can start relying on good people. And I think we're going to see some more people get fired. I can't wait. I hope more prosecutors get fired. The more I hear about, for instance, this Roger Stone thing, the judge and the prosecutors, leave out the defense guys, allowing a committed Democrat partisan to the point where she was running for office on the jury. What an appalling injustice. We keep hearing shattering norms and rules. What the hell do you call that? And it's time he starts firing people. I hope more people resign at the DOJ out of spite and anger. It's beautiful. It's music to my ears.
Speaking of injustice, can you go ahead and recap for everybody who forgot what exactly happened to General Flynn, who's still rotting in prison?
Well, he's now waiting to be sentenced. He was set up and framed. Exculpatory evidence was hidden. The deep state lied about it. They targeted and set him up. And he was treated inequitably compared to other people in the bureaucracy who happened to agree with the establishment. Comey, McCabe, Stroik, all those people. None of them have been indicted, but boy, they couldn't indict a Trump ally fast enough. This is why we can't pretend that there are any norms or rules to follow. Don't start telling me, well, you're shattering the institutions. All you're going to get from me is a fist pump.
Switching gears here, this equal rights amendment crap that's passing its way through the House of Representatives, and we have every harpy up there screaming about how oppressed they are, and Ayanna Pressley's talking about shackles, and I mean, it's the most absurd thing in the history of mankind. How did we get to this point as a country, Kurt, where everybody, not men and women, have a standard of living that is the envy of everyone in the history of the world, and we are such a bunch of freaking whiners now?
Look, the problem is human beings need to be challenged. And when you have no challenge, you fill yourself up with fake challenges like global warming or systematic racism. When you have no religion, you fill yourself up with ridiculous beliefs like the climate cult. Human beings need a harder life than we supply. It's ironic that human beings, particularly hard men, have created a society that is so resilient and strong that it can allow these kind of frivolous fools to run their mouths.
All right. Handicap the Democrat race before you go. I'm dying to know who you call. I've made my pick. I think Bloomberg. I think his money's going to come over the top, and enough moderates are going to drop out, and people will flock to Bloomberg, and he wins it. Am I crazy?
Yeah, I don't think you're crazy, but I think you're wrong. I think it will probably be Bernie. And the reason is that's where the energy is. That's where the Democrat Party is. I mean, they're a socialist party. And you will see a bunch of people very similar to some Republicans in the Trump campaign of 2016 going, I can't be a part of this. Now, many of us were like, I was like, oh my God, this Trump guy's terrible. And then he started keeping his word, and now I'm a huge supporter. I think a lot of them will look at Bernie and go, I got 401ks. I got my daughter's Marxist puppetry degree to pay for. I don't want this weirdo from Vermont picking my doctor. I'm going to have to stick with Donald Trump because, he may tweet mean, but he's had 4 years and things have only got better. I'm not going to vote for a communist.
Kurt Schlichter, townhall.com. I appreciate you, my man.
Thanks.
You know we're not done yet. We got a long show to go. Hang on. As you've heard me say before on the show, the Democrat Party of 2020 has a patriotism problem. And what am I talking about when it's that? Well, look, there's always been that thing. There's always been that rift you can't quite put your finger on. Why does it kind of seem like they don't like the place? And understand something. Because, remember I said at the beginning of the show, America has a culture. Our culture is limited government. More personal freedom, a constitutionally limited federal government that says you can only do this and nothing else. And when the entire basis for your party is the government needs to do a lot more and get a lot bigger and a lot more powerful and have a lot more control over your life, it seems anti-American. Well, that problem, that patriotism problem, especially the patriotism image problem they have, has only gotten worse recently because of their views on illegal immigration. I've even said it recently where I think Bernie Sanders comes off as, authentic. He believes what he believes, but it's actually the one issue that makes him a huge hypocrite too. He's previously even been tough on the border. In fact, communists and socialists throughout history have been very tough on their borders because even they know that you cannot have a wide open border and have your insane leftist policies not collapse the country. It's hard enough to keep the country held up without illegal immigrants pouring in. Now even Bernie's open borders. But I want you to understand something. I have plenty of Democrats that watch the show. Believe it or not, I have Democrat relatives that watch the show, and I really want them to hear this. Your dad's Democrat Party is gone. In fact, Bill Clinton's Democrat Party is gone. In fact, the Democrat Party of 10 years ago is gone. There is something totally new out there now, and if you're a Democrat, the best thing in the world that could happen to you and your party would to have this new batch of crazy people be stomped. Here's Amy Klobuchar from just 2006, not 1966, 2006.
I do believe that we need more resources at the border and that includes a fence. What we have now, we have people waiting to come in legally. Thousands of people waiting to come in legally to this country, and we have people coming in illegally. That's not right. We need to get order at the border. But we also have to stop giving amnesty to companies that are hiring illegal immigrants.
That is the exact platform of virtually every single Republican running for office today. Let's improve the legal immigration system, stop illegal immigration, go after companies that are hiring illegal immigrants. That was the Democrat Party in 2006. Do you want to see what they look like today? Here's Elizabeth Warren. They all agree.
Just to clarify, would you decriminalize illegal border crossings?
The point is not about criminalization. That has given Donald Trump the tool to break families apart.
Thank you, Senator.
Decriminalize illegal immigration? We understand what we're talking about there, right? Decriminalize illegal immigration, and they all agree with her on that? We're going to make it legal to just walk into the United States of America? No border at all? Ladies and gentlemen, when your party is facing accusations of being anti-American, when your party is, not farty, even though that'd be funny, when your party is facing accusations of trying to bring down the country, maybe don't come out there and just say it, you know what? I think everybody should come. Screw it. Let's just collapse the entire system. That's where we are. Like I said, your dad's Democrat Party is gone. And do you remember this moment when they were asked about giving illegal immigrants free health care?
Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants. Okay.
That's all of them. Like I said, I didn't just cherry pick there. That's not just Elizabeth Warren. That's your modern day Democrat Party. Is that your values, ladies and gentlemen? You Democrats watching the show? You union guys, I know I've got plenty of you in the Rust Belt. That what you believe in right there? That's what your party believes in. And you know what's crazy? And it's not because I'm a good person, because believe me, I'm an awful human being. I want the Democrat Party to wake up and get sane again. I want options because the Republican Party is so screwed up sometimes, I just want to choke. And I want to be able to vote for a Democrat someday. I do. I want to be able to vote for a Democrat someday. I couldn't vote for any of these freaking nut jobs. None of them. Now, Elizabeth Warren, she's doing something right now. It's called Betoing, or she's in the Beto phase. And what that is when a candidate finally gets to that point in the race where they have no chance whatsoever, they pretty much know they have no chance whatsoever. Some candidates choose to bow out gracefully. That's what Andrew Yang did when he walked away after New Hampshire. Some candidates, you know, Elizabeth Warren, they choose to just take a whole bunch of crap and throw it against the wall and pray to God something sticks. Here she is now.
Right now, we should all be calling for the Attorney General to resign. What Barr has done should mean that we are demanding a resignation. And if that guy won't resign, then the House should start impeachment.
Resign, impeachment, Trump as a monarch, a Russian asset. The Democrat rhetoric over the past 3 years is so over the top and absurd. And this is the problem with it. I have no problem with them playing politics. Politics is a contact sport. That's the way it goes. But when you're them, you've run out of outrage. You've drained people of their ability to feel panic, to feel outrage. So when you're screaming about Barr's got to be impeached, he should resign. Everybody, not a single person looks at that and thinks, oh, that's a good call. I mean, except for Elizabeth Warren's crazy fans. Everybody looks at that and they go, oh, gosh, can we please get back to work? Look, mercifully, I do believe Elizabeth Warren is about to bounce out of the race. I believe she canceled about $500,000 in media ad buys in South Carolina and a big chunk of ad buys in Nevada as well, which tells you one of two things. In the best case scenario, and I do mean this, in the best case scenario for Elizabeth Warren, that means she's run out of money. That means donors aren't writing checks anymore, and she just can't get the thing done. The worst case scenario is she's almost done, and she knows it. She'll limp her way through Nevada or South Carolina, and then off to the reservation she goes. We're going to talk to Chad Prather of the Chad Prather Show in just a second. Hang on. Joining me now, the great Chad Prather of the Chad Prather Show. Chad, we've got Donald Trump fighting with a former chief of staff today. I think it's just all very petty and small when anybody walks out of an office and then complains about their employer. But honestly, Donald Trump sucks at hiring people. Why don't we ever talk about this?
I actually do talk about that from time to time, Jesse. I don't understand it. There is some kind of dynamic that goes on inside that office that just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know if it's on purpose. I don't think that it is, but it does get to be awfully petty. And here's the issue that I have, Jesse, is we're at a point now where you have those of us out there who try to defend this presidency and try to make arguments in favor of it and for it. But it sometimes is made very hard for us when you have things like this given to the left for ammunition. It's a difficult deal, and it's very weird. I mean, he runs this thing sometimes like he's running the Apprentice and firing everybody, and it does get a little bit petty.
It does. And you know what? Speaking to John Kelly, bad-mouthing him after, I don't know why he can't just do what I've always done, and that's crazy glue down all the phones on the way out the door. Let's be adults about this whole thing. Yeah, now,
pop all the W's off the keyboard and, things like that. Steal the china. Take the china home with you.
Yeah, of course.
These are things that have been done. There are precedents that have been set by former presidents and their staff that I don't see why you can't just do stuff like this. But no, it's just crazy, man. I mean, I get it. Trump likes who he likes, and if you can hang in there, I mean, who we got left? We got Ben Carson. Pretty much that's it. We got Ben Carson, and is Rick Perry still around? I don't even know anymore. I've stopped paying attention. The Voss lady, she's there. So I don't even know anymore, Jesse. Yeah,
she's certainly there. I saw Hope Hicks is coming back. All right, Chad, I have to ask you, I hate to dig into something too serious with you here, but I really want a real fur, like cloak type thing, Game of Thrones style, and I can't decide whether I want a bear or a wolf.
You don't want either one, Jesse. You want a buffalo. You know why? Because you're a tall guy. And I don't know. I think everybody on the planet now first of all, I know they recognize the handsomeness and the charm that's there, but I don't know if everybody truly realizes what it's like to stand next to a man that's 7'2". So you want a big animal. You need a big Jesse animal, and a buffalo is exactly going to be what you need, because that's got to be a long coat, Jesse. But you know what? It's weird. You and I operate on the same wavelength, because I've been thinking the same thing. The same thing. I was looking at some people on Instagram the other day, and I was like, yeah, it looks warm. Now, I live in Texas. You live in Texas. It never gets colder than, like, what, 68 here? But by God, I need something that makes me sweat.
Well, that's fine. I'll go stand in the freezer and wear my buffalo coat. All right, Chad. The Democrat Party, we have Amy Klobuchar on video talking about, this is from 2006, she's talking about how we need a stronger border, we need to, stop illegal immigration, we need all these other things. I feel like some of us forget, I know sometimes I forget, how quickly this party turned absolutely nutso. How did it happen so fast? Was it an Obama thing? Was it, all these college nerds are now in the corporate world pushing it along thing? What is it?
Yeah, I think it's the culture of the safe space is what it is. It's the safety pin culture where these folks come out and they have to be woke, and that's, you see it in Hollywood, you see it in the news media, you see it amongst the people that are running for office. Everybody's got to be woke, and how dare we, violate this one big sense of humanity. I don't just want a wall, Jesse. I want a wall. I want one with a monorail on top of it that you can travel the entire southern border. I want a Neiman Marcus. I want to be able to shop inside the wall. Make it the Wall Mall. I want it to be seen from space. I want this thing to have, I don't want ports of entry. I don't want amnesty courts. I don't want more judges. I want to have about eight places with American Ninja Warrior courses where the entire family has to get across. And if the family doesn't get across, if you make it, you can stay, but the whole family's got to make it. If just the dad gets across, he's got to go and be quarantined in Florida and identify as a Puerto Rican. That's how strongly I feel about the need for this southern border wall. I'm willing to give them New Mexico back. The aliens can have the aliens if we could just build a wall around New Mexico. I'm willing to give something back for this thing. But no, Amy Klobuchar and these guys, and all the way back to Obama, they know good and well that there has to be some kind of border security. They wanted it. They needed it. Obama came out. He told George Stephanopoulos, he said, if you send your kids up here, we're going to send them right back. Where's the hate? Where is the woke left when those kind of things come out? So, yeah, well, I say build the wall, build it.
You're a little nicer than me. I personally would give them New Mexico for nothing, but that's just another story entirely. You mentioned Hollywood, and of course the Oscars were, and I don't care about the Oscars. Of course, the wife went over and watched it while the boys and I watched violent movies, but the Oscars were on, record low ratings, all this other stuff. My question is, all these people, yes, they're insane, but they're not all morons. Yeah, lots of them are morons. They're not morons. They see the ratings. They see the box office numbers every time they put out this new Birds of Prey superhero movie all about feminists and stuff like that. And they all tank and they all suck every time, and they keep doing it. Why?
Yeah, and that's the funny thing to me. I don't understand why they make a movie that tanks, and then their big idea is to sit around a boardroom and say, you know what we need to do? Let's make a sequel. Let's double tank this thing. It doesn't make any sense to me. In the world of Hollywood, and people don't realize this, they may make 10 movies a year. 2 of them will be profitable, and those 2 that are profitable will pay for the other 8 that tanks. So they don't realize the true loss, because that's how much money they're making. It's the same in sitcoms. They have to get it to syndication in order to pay for what's going on now, because they make shows, they make movies in a deficit. So they live in that sort of a bubble where there are no ramifications or consequences for the decisions they make. Now, when it comes to these award shows, these bobblehead sock puppets that are up there who are parroting off these same phrases, appearing again to be woke and lecturing us while living in their own sense of privilege. What I learned recently is that many of these acceptance speeches were written by a former Obama speechwriter, which, Jesse, that tells me everything I need to know. So when a Brad Pitt gets up there and tells me and lectures me about how John Bolton didn't get to testify in an impeachment hearing, Let me remind the left how many times you told us that John Bolton is a warmonger and all of this stuff, and you hated his guts, but now you're going to come out and use him as a pawn in your little play. I'll remind you, Jesse, that the other day, a good friend of mine, he went to a monster truck rally, and fascinating what they can do with these monster trucks. The only one that was rolled over and wound up on its top was driven by a woman driver. And I'm just going to say that that's the world we live in, Jesse. We're giving credit to people that don't deserve it, right? I mean, at what point in time do we make action movies about women or by women? I don't care about Charlie's Angels. I don't care about women race car drivers. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I don't care about it. They want to complain that so many of the reviews coming back were bad on Harley Quinn because they were given by men. Welcome to the real world. Men are who go see action movies, and let's face it, it's got Margot Robbie in there. I don't care who she kills as long as I can see some cleavage. That's just me being real, Jesse. That's just me being real.
I did not know that most of Hollywood movies ran on a deficit, so they live in a constant state of debt while always hoping for the big break to pull themselves out of it. That sounds like marriage.
You know what? I think that marriage operates on a deficit as well. You know, you have your good years, you have your bad years. You hope that the good years far outweigh the bad, but let's face it, do they really? Do they really, Jesse? Do they really?
Chad Prather of the Chad Prather Show. Don't miss it. I never do. I appreciate you, my man.
Love you, pal. I'll see you in D.C. next week, right? In 2 weeks?
Well, I'll see you there. I'll be there.
All right, CPAC, we're on.
We're not quite done yet, people. Hang on. Mike Bloomberg has been catching some heat lately from President Trump because, well, President Trump keeps calling him Mini Mike and making fun of his height, and there are all these pictures going around out there of people taking pictures with Mike Bloomberg, and Mike Bloomberg is really short. He's really short. And there's this complete lie going around, I should say, in society that the worst thing in the world is to be a short dude. That's not true. The worst thing in the world is to be a short dude and then lie about it. In 2001, Newsday reported that Bloomberg had listed his height as 5'10" on his driver's license. Yeah, maybe if you're standing on a stool, Mike. Then the New York Times in December released a letter from Bloomberg's own doctor that lists his height as 5'7". Boy, Bloomberg, that doctor better be happy it's Bloomberg's doctor and not Hillary Clinton's doctor, or he would have committed suicide a long time ago. Now, Bloomberg has a coolness problem, I guess I should say. The guy has all the money in the world. He just comes off like a jerk, and he has no funniness to him. But to be honest, in his defense, once you go to the left, you're not funny anymore. Why do you think all the late night shows suck now? I mean, all of them. Go down the list. It's all a bunch of lefties making bad Trump jokes that everyone's like, it's just kind of lame. So Bloomberg is putting out these memes. You know, this first one, he's doing these conversations, showing himself having a conversation with somebody, and they're not funny. I mean, half the time, I don't even know what he's trying to do. Look at this one, the Mr. Tank one. Mr. Tank. I mean, just look at that. I've been waiting for my memes so long, I learned how to make memes in myself. And I mean, that's not funny, right? I honestly, I asked my people to send me the rest of it because I was like, yeah, but wait a minute, what's the punchline? Ladies and gentlemen, there is no punchline. Let it be a lesson to you boys and girls, no matter what they're teaching you in school. If you choose to go to the left, you lose your sense of humor. All right. We'll be back to do all this again one more time tomorrow. See you.